Hi, everybody. Welcome to our afterthoughts session with Philippe Lacote, the director of La Nuit des Rois, which you've just now seen, The Night of the Kings. Welcome with us, Philippe.
Hello, thank you, Olaf. Yeah.
And there are quite a few angles from which one could start, but let's start with a personal angle. I read somewhere that you do know the Macabre prison actually from personal experience, but not as a prisoner.
I said that in different articles, I said that I know La Maca,
Hmm?
this prison, since I was childhood, because my mother was in this prison for political reason. And I traveled. I traveled each one day by week, each week, to go to see my mother. And I discovered this prison as a child, as a visitor, first time.
How could you, could you actually really enter there? I mean, in your film, the prison looks on the one hand like pure anarchy run really only by the prisoners, but also like very much like a civil society, so to speak, something that one could walk through. So how could you visit your mother, and what did you
Uh,
see back
it,
then?
it, it was possible to visit. There is some visit in this prison because there is a place where you visitors could enter, and it's a very open prison. In fact, so as a visitor, you can meet prisoners, some prisoners. You can discuss with some prisoners. You can see a lot of things, even if you are not a prisoner. But for me, as a child, it was not a hard experience. It was a very impressed experience, and for me, it was like this prison was like a kingdom.
Hmm?
For me, it was like there was queens, kings, and lackeys, and it was very fantastic for me.
Just one last question about this. Did the prisoners kind of adopt you? If you came there regularly, I mean, they must have known you.
Yeah, I discussed with some prisoners, and sometimes, for example, I came one day with a bread for my mother, with something for eat for my mother, and a prisoner could eat could take something and eat. It was this kind of interaction,
Hmm?
and I used all these details, all this memory to build my characters in Night of the Kings.
Were you actually able, because I know that some of the extras were actually former prisoners. Did you find some of these people you met as a child, or were these basically really recently released
No,
prisoners?
no, no, and I didn't make this research, but
Hmm?
we wanted to work. I have a past as a documentarist also,
Hmm?
and I wanted to have an authenticity in this prison, and it was very important for me to not to play pri- prisoners and not to play the prison, because
Hmm?
prison is a big phantasm for a lot of people, and I didn't want to play we are prisoners.
Hmm?
No. So 25% of our extras were real former prisoners,
Hmm?
and it gave an authenticity.
Hmm?
It brings something, and all these drawings, all these paintings on wall in our prison in Night of the Kings comes from real drawings and real paintings from different prison.
Hmm?
So we made a work like this, and I met also in my research, I met also two former prisoners who play the role of roman, of
Hmm?
storyteller
Yeah.
in the prison, because the role of roman, the role of storyteller, it's
Hmm?
a true story in La Maca.
Oh.
Yeah. In La Maca, of course, they don't kill them, but there is a ritual. Prisoners, they choose another prisoners and another prisoner, and is obliged each night to tell a story. and they call him roman, novel, like a book.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a true story. And I have a childhood friend who were in La Maca, who told me this story, and I decided to make this film.
Wow. Um, this isn't so far interesting because I mean, you were talking about it being like really like a kingdom with kings, queens, etc. And I was on the other hand thinking, okay, the French title is the French title also of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night,
Yeah,
which is very much a play about, well, storytelling, but it is actually much closer in many ways to Jean Genet, the whole film.
yeah, yeah. I'm a big fan of Jean Genet.
That's
Uh,
obvious.
yeah. First, I will say that for your last question, my goal was not usually when we speak about prison,
Hmm?
we speak about a condition of prisoners.
Hmm?
Uh, Prisoners are some people say prisoners are good guy or they are bad guy. It was not my goal. My goal was to present a complete society with his code, with his law, with his beliefs. And Jean Genet was very useful for me for to go to this goal because Jean Genet uh, didn't present the prison about administration or about the normal world. He presented the prison according the law of prisoners. And it was important for me to go inside. And with Jean Genet, it was also important about desire, because in books or piece of theater of Jean Genet, the prison is built on a desire.
Hmm?
Yeah, and the most criminal is a person who everyone will desire in his book. And for me, the character of Sexy, and also all this view, all these eyes around on Roman. Roman is like a diamond in this prison, and I took this part from Jean Genet.
Well, I mean, the film is almost, I mean, there's one Genet play that does connect with the Shakespeare aspect, which is Le Bon, The Maids.
Yeah, the maids, but the maids, for example, in Night of the Kings, prisoners, they play the story of Roman. And
Exactly.
in the maids, you have two maids who one night will be the mistress
Yeah.
of the house.
Hmm?
So yeah, there is a connection.
I mean, we could probably now go on to many, many meta-textual levels,
Mhm.
but I think there is also a rather straightforward, let's say, current political allegory there for the Ivory Coast, because, I mean, one can read the film as an allegory on the downfall of Laurent Gbagbo,
Mhm.
the former
Yeah,
president,
yeah.
whose name I pronounced again badly.
Yeah, it's perfect. I will say that I try as a director, I try to work on different level, on
Mhm.
three levels, to have the realistic level, to have the historical level, and to have the mystical level. And for us, in my culture, in Ivory Coast, in Africa, generally, it's not a contradiction. So in my film, you will find uh, image of legend, uh, image of the prison, and archives of our ex-president Laurent Gbagbo, because I try to say the history of my country. And Roman has to tell a story. He decided to tell a story of a gang leader with Zama King. And I discovered that Zama King was a rebel, was part of rebellion. So I decided to show Zama King in this rebellion during, during the arrestation of Laurent Gbagbo. By this
Hmm.
way, is a way to always to ask the question of violence in my country, violence in this prison, violence in power, in the fight of power, and violence in Ivory Coast.
So Zama King is also a real figure, because I
Yes.
was never really certain. I mean, I got completely
Yeah.
lost basically what's real and
Yeah.
what's fictional. So he's also
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, Zama King is a real character. His name is Zama. He was killed. He was lynched 4 years ago by population because he made a lot of crimes, and they didn't kill him. They made him disappear. We didn't find his body because they burned him. They cut him. So and they population people sent this image on social media. And when I saw this image, I said, oh, what's happened in my country 2 years after a civil war? We have this kind of image, we have this kind of violence. So I decided to make a film about this image.
Which is, of course, then in stark contrast to the sheer gorgeousness of the, let's say, the mythical level,
Yeah,
which is
but
fantastic.
but the mystical level is not it's not in contradiction, because when you see when you look the real life of Zama, it's a young boy who is born in Burkina Faso and came in Ivory Coast. His father was a mystical person, and his father gave him some mystical power. And with this mystical power, he became a chief of the gang. And this gang, the name of this gang is Microbes, in reference to the film City of God. Yeah, so you have political, you have cinema, you have mystical things. It's Ivory Coast. Yeah.
Well, Ivory Coast is also probably also the mixing in of one of the most fascinating younger artists of your country in the film. You have Leticia Key as the queen. How did that come upon?
But I know the work of Leticia Key as a fan, as a follower, and I liked a lot her sculpture with earth, and I think that she has a real. She's very charismatic in these photos, and I decided with my casting director to ask her to come, and we work with all this by in the same time. We made a casting during 2 years in different popular area in Abidjan, and we selected 40 person, 40 young people, martial art fighters, dancers, singers, and also young actors, and also Leticia Key. And we made a workshop during 2 months, and at the end of this workshop, she becomes a queen. Yeah.
You just mentioned martial arts fighters. I actually read somewhere that you want to make a martial arts movie.
Yeah, I have this idea next time to work on a martial art movie. We will say the fight of independence in Africa, but it's a project. Yeah.
Are you basically, I mean, now because I am a big martial arts fan,
Yeah.
are we talking about some some local martial arts, or will we have Bruce Lee in Abidjan?
I have contact with some martial arts fighters in Abidjan, because Taekwondo is very developed in Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
Because in 80s, South Korea, they sent a big master in Maître Kim in Ivory Coast, and he develops a lot of things. And Ivory Coast was third at Olympic Games in Taekwondo. So there's a lot of clubs. There's a tradition, I would say, of martial arts, but it will be Ivorian fighters. It will be international fighters, I think. And I grew up with Bruce Lee films. Yeah, so it's normal.
So you are, I do get the impression, very fascinated by, let's say, physical expression, because this is a very, very central part also of La Nuit des Rois, the dancing, the fighting that you have.
Mm.
How do you actually develop these scenes? Is
But
this something, because this is, I think, something you can difficult, it's you only you can only describe with difficulties, because you need to have a person in
yeah,
front of you to actually develop it.
yeah, it was a challenge in the script because people, when they wanted to finance the film, always they ask about this part,
Hmm.
what will happen. But for me, I was confident with this because my first idea was not to use the prison only as a place to tell a story and to have flashbacks. I wanted that the story uh, be a part of the prison, be a part of bodies of prisoners. And there's a special thing with body and prison
Hmm.
because when you visit a prison, you will see that the gymnast club is full because when people arrive in prison, the main question is how I will keep my body safe.
Hmm.
And it's for this in my in Night of the Kings, it's an imaginary law, but we say that when the chief is sick,
Hmm.
is sick, he must kill himself.
Hmm.
So the body is very important in the prison because it's the body who is in prison, and you can see in Night of the Kings, the spirit is free,
Hmm.
the imagination is free, and Roman is to is present to make grow our imagination of prisoners, but the body can't move. So the relation between body, between sex, between desire, and prison is very important for me.
So, to basically ask one final question, what do you say to the thought that your film has now, with COVID, gotten a very different additional layer of meaning, with all of us being now captives in one way or another?
Uh, I don't know. Tell me how you see this.
Basically, I was basically just thinking that I constantly get emails from people talking about their bodies and feeling that they are deteriorating because they can't leave.
Yes, I understand. So everybody's clothes is locked now.
Yeah.
So the bodies become important. But I will say also that maybe my film takes another sense now because in Night of the Kings, the most important thing is what is important for us. What
Hmm.
is the main things? What if tomorrow you have to tell a story of your life, what part you will tell, what you will say, what what part will keep you alive? This is the question.
And this is an absolutely wonderful way of closing our afterthoughts. I would like to thank you very, very much
Thank you.
for being with us,
Yeah.
and hope to see you at some point finally for real.
And thank you for Festival Rotterdam Film Festival.